Welcome to Put Your Block Horror Podcast.
Welcome.
We exhume horror movies from the past and cut into what makes them so delectable. I'm Kane.
I am JD.
And I'm drunk.
AKA Joe.
Also that, yeah.
Today, we're going to be throwing 1408
1408
onto the slab and carving up our favorite portions to force feed to you, our unwitting victims. If you enjoy the taste of these feasts of fright, then give us a like and subscribe, being sure to click the bell. Consider taking a look at our website, wegiveyobrainworms.com. This will allow you to take a look at our other projects we're doing and link you to our Patreon. There is also a Discord community channel link. Feel free to drop by. There's usually one of us in there dicking around.
Emphasis on the dickin'.
Talking to us. Come on and talk to us. Why not? What do you have to lose?
It's mostly come in and talk to me.
What do you have to lose talking to Kane?
Your sanity.
Yeah.
I mean, there's risks. There are definitely risks.
Yeah. Well, you know, there are risks in life, and you got to live your life, so.
Right.
Go on and talk to Kane.
Yeah, so we did Creep Show to kind of start our Stephen King marathon. Then we did Silver Bullet.
And that made our ding-dongs go bing-bong.
I don't think that's true.
Yeah.
Creep Show did.
Okay, right on. Whatever's happening with JD's ding-dong, you know, he might need to get that looked at by a medical
professional. So go ahead
professional.
and continue talking about the films.
We also did Pet Sematary.
Where I don't want to be buried.
Right. And we're finishing it up with 1408. This is our little Hello, We Love Stephen King group of movies.
Yep.
Yes.
So, JD, let's just start off on fire here. Why don't you give us a synopsis overview? Joe,
What?
shut the fuck up.
Oh.
Ouch. Wow, Kane, you are
I have feelings, you know.
a fierce podcaster. You have
Look, all I'm saying is
venom.
that I remember
and
what
fire.
happened on Jacob's Ladder, and I don't need Joe thinking that he could just run his fucking pie hole
My
any way
version
he
of
wants.
the movie was way more interesting.
No, it wasn't, Joe. It was a Disney movie.
Fine, JD, you tell us what the movie's about.
I'm going to give you a few details
Since
first.
I'm not allowed to, apparently.
Leading into the synopsis, the release date was June 22nd of 2007, and it's 104 minutes long with a budget of $25 million. And this film kind of kicked ass at the box office, grossing $133 million.
It's a high roller, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of high. You know, horror films don't generally knock your socks off at the box office.
This one was on a higher level than some of the stuff that we usually cover on this show.
And we will get into that because there was quite a bit that went into this movie, and it is involved, to say the least. So the main character, Mike Enslin, portrayed by John Cusack, he is a fairly successful author, basically goes around shitting on people's claims of hauntings, and so...
That's a gross misrepresentation of what he does.
Well, you know, he's an author, and...
He writes those crappy books that you see at Barnes and Nobles, if they still exist in your town.
Those don't exist anymore.
They exist in Newport, Kentucky, all right?
Not anymore. That one closed.
Oh, it finally closed?
Yeah, it closed a year or two ago.
So anyway, the synopsis was happening.
Hold on. Well, I'm just saying, Mike Ensling does not disprove hauntings. He goes to hotels and writes colorful explanations about what the hotel claims exists there, and then he stays the night basically for free.
Yeah.
But he doesn't discredit them.
At least based on the context clues I got, he actually does really sell no, this place was haunted as shit.
Yeah.
And he's just privately cynical.
What I gathered from watching was that, I latched on to his private cynicism because it seems as though his intention was to debunk claims. And so anyway, despite the warnings of the Dolphin Hotel in New York City, despite the warnings of its manager, portrayed by Samuel L. Jackson, embarks about his fate-filled evening in room 11408.
11408?
1408?
Room 8675309.
8675309.
Might I add that Samuel L. Jackson was the motherfucking hotel manager. Just laying that down real thick. So yeah, the film was directed by Mikael Hafström, born in Lund, Sweden, 1960. Mikael's a Swedish director and screenwriter, best known for the 2003 film Evil. Gentlemen, seen the film
No.
Evil?
No, I'm unfamiliar.
It's not really a horror film. It's more of a drama set in a rather violent boarding school occurring in the late 1950s. But I looked into it a bit, and it actually seems pretty interesting. I want to say that 1408 is actually this director's second film in the English language. Most of his films are Swedish, I believe.
Right on.
Yeah. But yeah, Evil, that film that I just mentioned, was nominated for Best Foreign Film. Hafstrom is also known for a slasher film called Drowning Ghost in 2004,
Cool.
and a crime thriller called Derailed in 2005. My favorite film that Hafstrom was involved with came out in 2011 called The Rite, starring Anthony Hopkins. And it was like an exorcism movie, kind of spooky-ish.
Oh, yeah. I haven't seen that, but I've seen stuff about it.
Yeah, I saw that. It was a exorcism movie.
Yeah,
There are a lot of them.
kind of cool. And anything that Anthony Hopkins is tends to be fairly excellent. Anyway, 1408 was produced by Lorenzo di Bonaventura, born in New York City, 1957, an American film producer, and is also the founder and owner of Di Bonaventura Pictures.
Debona? Nice. Go ahead.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
I'm out.
Kane's getting younger. He's now 14. This is incredible.
You of all people.
Yeah, normally Kane's the super mature, grounded one that's, he's guiding us, but today he seems to be a little off, so.
He's like our podcast dad.
Yeah, he's our podcast dad.
I prefer if you call me podcast daddy.
Podcast pappy.
Nope.
My podcast pappy. Ooh. So anyway, this producer he's a fucking penis. I'm sorry, but he's involved with all these Transformer movies, and they all fucking sucked. I don't have anything nice to say about this guy because everything's a piece of shit that he did. He produced Derailed. Okay, so that was Hafstrom's movie, but he also produced the G.I. Joe movies, which are another giant disappointment to me. Heartbreaking.
Those movies did suck.
Yeah, of course they did. Because you know what? I'm just going to go off on a rant for a second. I loved the 1980s G.I. Joe cartoon. I grew up to those episodes. And, that was like one of the things that I looked forward to most in life at a young age. I was very optimistic when I heard the film was going to come out, G.I. Joe. And then I started watching those, and I couldn't even really do it.
No,
they suck.
I've never actually seen it all the way through.
Yeah, I've never cared to watch. They didn't look good even in the trailers.
So yeah, Lorenzo di Bonaventura pissed in my fucking Cheerios. So that's really all I have to say about him.
Yeah, fuck you, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck you. And so 1408 was distributed by Dimension Films / Metro Goldwyn Mayer. This was a large production. I'm trying to, I guess, use all of those things to describe the idea that this is a larger-than-life horror film.
Yeah, this was big shit.
Yeah.
I would say that, to date, this is the most produced and just intense, like, with effects horror film that we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
How about Joe? Would you like to go ahead and talk a little about the writing?
No, not really.
Yeah, we'll do it anyway, Joe. I know where you live.
And I don't know where you live, but I would appreciate if you carried on.
It's like the carrot and the stick. All right, fine. I'll do it. Obviously based on a short story by Stephen King. If you don't know who Stephen King is, what the fuck are you doing here?
I have advice. If you don't know who Stephen King is, you should just dig a hole in your backyard and bury yourself.
I mean, that's extreme. Just go look up Stephen King.
No, that's how you learn about Stephen King. Joe.
By digging a hole and burying yourself alive?
Yeah.
I don't think that's true.
It's one path. There are many paths. Let's acknowledge.
But it's by far the truest path.
That's how I felt, and that's why I said it.
For legal reasons, everything we're saying is joking.
Yeah, don't bury yourself alive. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, we're bad role models. Stephen King in his short story collection, Everything's Eventual.
Which is great.
Yeah, it's a very good short story collection. And then it was written by a 3-person writing team. Scott Alexander and Larry Karaszewski, born respectively in June 1963 and November 20th, 1961, were a writing team who met and graduated from the University of Southern California School of Cinema. And they've worked together on a ton of movies. The ones that stuck out to me as like I personally cared about them were the Problem Child trilogy, Ed Wood, the 2015 Goosebumps with Jack Black in it, and The People vs. Larry Flint. They do a lot of biographies for some reason. And they also worked with Matt Greenberg, who was known for the 2019 Pet Sematary adaptation. If you remember that fucking dragon movie, Reign of Fire, he wrote that. And he also co-produced The Crow Salvation.
Interesting.
The Crow movies just randomly pop up on this show.
Well, it's not random. It's because you actually like the fucking sequels to the first one. So I feel obligated to like tell people, all right, something else that we're paying attention to is connected to these shitty movies.
Why you
Joe
like
loves.
This? I'm out. I quit. JD, you're on your own.
Reign of Fire was garbage. I do want to say that too.
Oh yeah, Reign of Fire sucked. I know some stuff about the cinematographer if you'd like me to talk about that.
Please do.
Yeah, let's hear about that.
Yeah, and I'm about to say some French words. I apologize to any French speakers for the semester of French that I have forgotten. The cinematographer, director of photography for this movie was Benoit Delamy, born in Paris in 1961, studied film at the Sorbonne and the École Louis Lumière Film Academy in France. And he's been working on movies since the early 80s, up to like things that are announced for next year. So he's still at it. Mostly French films, nothing really in the realm of horror.
Right.
Standouts include Boy in the Striped Pajamas, which if you're a pretentious film nerd, you'll have seen. Nick Cave's weird Western, The Proposition. Which was the cinematographer on. Great movie.
Yeah.
And the movie Chat Room.
Well, I mean, dude, to be honest, the cinematography in this movie was fucking
the camera
stellar.
work was great. Yeah, it was so good. A lot of cool, like first person, like moving in and out of perspective shots.
Oh yeah.
Some great camera work in this movie. A lot of like looking through things like mail slots and windows.
Keyholes.
And seeing the person's face from the other side.
Not that this has anything to do with the cinematography in particular, but I was proud of them for only using one jump scare.
Right?
And that ending felt tacked on, like someone from the studio was like, no, you can't. We got to shoot a new ending.
Weren't there three endings?
There were three endings.
Three endings.
Of varying degrees of happiness.
Like a happy ending and then a not so happy ending.
So,
and
Joe,
then...
do you know anything about those endings?
I know that they exist.
I know that the ending we observed was my least favorite kind of ending because it...
Real quick. So there's three different endings. Right?
Yes.
There's the theatrical ending.
Mm-hmm.
And that one is the default ending of the theatrical release and the theatrical release DVD.
And that's what we watched, right?
No.
Oh, shit.
Mike survives, and he and Lily reconcile. Right? They get back together. Everything's groovy. She finds the box that
Samuel
with the
L.
tape recorder, right? Yeah.
She finds that box that were rescued from 1408, and Mike takes the cassette recorder. He takes the damaged mini cassette from it, saying, sometimes you can't get rid of bad memories. You just got to live with them. And then Mike briefly tampers with the recorder, making it work again. And then suddenly they hear his daughter's voice like coming out of it again. And it confirms what he was saying happened. Right.
Interesting.
So then there's the director's cut ending. All right. So the director said that the ending of 1408 was reshot because the test audiences didn't like the original ending. They said it was too much of a downer.
Test audiences are dumb.
They are. So the first alternative ending is actually what was used in the theatrical release. So the original ending had Mike dying in the fire, but happy to see the room destroyed.
Right.
And then that's the one that we see when Olin approaches, Lily and Sam, and he tries to give her the box of the stuff, and she says no. Well, then he gets back in the car, and that's where the stupid jump scare is, because he's listening to the tape recorder, hears Katie's voice on the tape, and then there's like this, which is actually, this part's cool, Katie saying daddy on the recorder, and then there's a little girl outside of his car saying daddy, like calling for her dad, and act like she's lost.
And that was the only time I've ever seen Samuel L. Jackson get punked out in a movie for a split second. He's always doing the punking out, but this one moment.
He sees Mike's burnt corpse in the back
Yeah,
seat,
to be fair.
For some
the
unknown
sitting,
reason.
the position, the position that Mike was sitting in was kind of antagonistic.
Mhm.
It was really stupid.
Yeah.
And, he places the recorder back in the box, and then the final scene is of the gutted 1408, and Mike listens to Katie calling for him, and then he walks away, and that was really stupid.
Mm-hmm.
To fulfill his fatherly duties as a ghost.
Yeah, that's the ending on the Blu-ray release.
Like the movie Ghost Dad?
No, we don't talk about Bill Cosby, Joe. But there was a third ending. All right? This ending uses elements from both the theatrical ending and the discarded original ending, which honestly, it was good they discarded the original ending. The theatrical ending was better. But Mike dies in the fire. Instead of the funeral scene, the sounds of a funeral are dubbed over shots of Los Angeles. And then Lily and Sam kind of sort through Mike's effects. Sam returns to his New York office and discovers the manuscript that Mike wrote while he was in room 1408. As Sam reads the story, audio from Mike's experiences in the room are heard. And then the final scene, Sam's office door slams shut and Mike's father's voice says, "As I was, you are. As I am, you will be." That's a pretty goddamn good ending. And I feel like they should have went that way.
That sounds like it's from the Bible.
As I was, you are. As I am, you will be is written. Is that Memento Mori?
That
sounds really familiar. Yeah.
It's one of those things. Regardless, there's 3 endings. The director's cut ending blows. The theatrical ending is pretty good. And then I think the second alternate ending is pretty awesome. Yeah, so since we've covered, all of that business, why don't we go ahead and talk about the actors?
Okay, have fun with that. I'll see you later.
No. You're still here. You sit right in your goddamn chair.
Oh, man.
You can't rub one out for another 30 minutes. I'm so glad I don't have to clean your microphone cover.
No.
I'm so glad I don't have to smell your microphone cover.
Yeah, that would be... It probably smells like Pringles.
All right, well, the first actor we're going to talk about is John Cusack. I'm bitter because the world is awful, Mike Enslin. He was born in Evanston, Illinois, June 28, 1966. John Cusack is a very recognizable actor.
And a very handsome man.
He is. Since the 80s, he starred in 85 films, probably more than that.
He's a lot taller than I ever realized. He's a giraffe
he's a big
man.
dude.
Yeah, he's huge, dude.
Yeah, he could be like a shooting guard in the NBA.
Most of the movies that he's done are not horror. So I'm not going to talk about it because even if I like some of those movies, I don't give a shit about it for this podcast.
You can look up John Cusack on your own time.
Yeah.
Exactly. But he was in Identity. Any of you remember that movie?
No.
I remember the name.
All right. We're going to watch that. So that's a pretty fun movie. It's like a whodunit psychological horror movie. It's really good.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
But he also joined co-star Samuel L. Jackson in the science fiction horror movie Cell.
That's a pretty good movie.
Oh, yeah.
I've never seen it. He played Edgar Allan Poe in a crime thriller called The Raven.
Nice.
And that gets mentioned because of Poe.
Right.
I don't really think that movie was horror. Regardless,
Probably
listeners, if you're drawing blanks, get it, guys? No? He was Martin Blank in the rom-com Grosse Pointe Blank.
Good job.
I get it. It didn't make me laugh.
He was the boombox kid in Say Anything. I like John Cusack. He was down in the thick of it during the Chicago protests, and the cops even roughed him up.
Nice.
His character in the movie has suffered this devastating blow with the loss of his daughter to cancer, and afterwards, he rightfully becomes a jaded asshole. Bilks superstitious people out of money with his spooky ghost books that he doesn't even believe in.
Yeah.
Next on the list, we got Samuel L. Jackson.
The motherfucking hotel manager.
No nonsense and knows just how bad it is in 1408. Hotel manager Gerald Olin. Samuel L. Jackson was born in Washington, D.C. December 21st, 1948. He originally studied marine biology, which will be important later, at Morehouse College before switching to architecture.
Didn't Samuel L. begin his acting career at maybe age 45, somewhere around there?
It was later.
He was a late bloomer.
I've heard
but
that,
he changed his major after appearing in the Three Penny Opera. He's been in many, many movies.
Oh, yeah.
Usually calling someone or something a motherfucker. Interestingly, Sammy L. stuttered during his childhood. He actually uses the word motherfucker to get through a speech block.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And his horror credits include, get ready for this, The Exorcist 3. Have either of you seen that?
No.
Because it doesn't matter, but now I'm going to watch it because Sammy L's in it. I didn't know that.
Sure. It's probably going to be asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I am prepared to watch it.
He was
Clearly.
also
Just
in
to see.
Deep Blue Sea, which, going back to his original majoring in marine biology, he gets eaten by a giant shark whale.
It's pretty sweet.
He was also in Snakes on a Plane. Some people would argue that that's an action movie, not a horror movie.
No, I would argue that it's not a horror movie.
I would argue that it's a shitty movie.
You're both wrong. It's a great movie.
I think it's a fun movie. I'm not convinced that it's a horror movie.
Well, I feel like it's like a monster movie, which technically falls under horror movie.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
He was in the movie Cell, like I said before, with John Cusack. And then, I always find it a toss-up on the like kaiju movies because they're horror in the sense that a giant monster is destroying things.
Sure.
But specifically, I think that the movie Kong Skull Island gets to be a horror movie because of the things on Skull Island.
That makes sense. And if you get into like semiotics, kaiju movies come from the same place that horror movies kind of do.
Exactly. And he is set to appear in Spiral, which is a Saw movie, so I don't really care.
I just didn't know he was going to be in that. I'm not going to watch it because the Saw movies aren't that good, but it's cool that he's going to be in it.
Right. All right, next we got Mary McCormack.
Yo.
How the fuck could you even consider taking him back? Lily Insland. She was born February 8, 1969 in Plainfield, New Jersey. She began her career at 12 performing in a Christmas opera. Her horror credits are really only 1408.
Sure. Yeah.
I will say this, her character shouldn't have even been on screen. It should just be the sound of dial tones because she's hanging up on Mike every scene she's supposed to be in.
Because he's a dickhead.
Because fuck that dude.
Yeah, he's kind of a shit piece.
Just roll out on your wife after your daughter dies, and then your fucking excuse in the dream sequences is, I just saw her face Well, fucking say that. Sorry,
yeah, you should
many
probably
over.
Work it out.
Fill in the blanks and give details that are necessary.
Right?
To save your marriage. Yeah, do something.
Yeah, like have therapy about it. Don't fucking abandon your obligations.
Otherwise, I mean, how would he have tasted an $800 bottle of cognac if not for him losing his shit?
Maybe, I guess.
Anyway, next contestant.
Yeah, our next contestant is Tony Shalhoub. Look how my client is a fragile, depressed sack of shit, publisher Sam Farrell. He was born October 9th, 1953 in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He is a Yale graduate, and he spent 4 seasons with the American Repertory Theater.
Wasn't he on the show Monk?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This cat actually waited tables after he moved to New York. The Yale graduate. He made his Broadway debut in 1985 in the production of The Odd Couple. And his horror credits include 13 Ghosts, which, while full of CGI bullshit, is still a relatively fun movie.
It's a fun movie for sure.
And 1408. Currently, it's not horror, but he stars as Abe Weissman in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and I fucking love him in that show. I feel, honestly, every movie I've seen this guy in, he's critically underrated as an actor, and I think they should figure out a way to give him more lead roles. I love this guy.
Yeah, he only really plays like wormy, kind of anxious characters.
Right.
I think he can do a lot more than that.
Yeah, because I mean, he was in the Men in Black movies as the wormy, anxious character. But
well, let's put him to the test. Give him a shot. Give him a job. Let him act his way out of those wormy roles.
JD, I think we need to address this. Do you have the power to get us hired in Hollywood?
No, I don't.
What the fuck, man? Yeah. You had me excited for a second.
Yeah, I said it.
Shit, JD
so
has access to getting people jobs in Hollywood.
Yeah, you sounded so confident, like you
you
just make that
sounded
happen.
So confident and sure of yourself, like this shit's happening right now.
That's how they do it. That's how they do
I've
it.
got some old comic book scripts I wrote when I was 19. Let's adapt that shit into a movie right now.
Yeah, the people in charge, they just fake it till they make it. So,
So next, I'm going to butcher this last name, which is a French last name. So I apologize to anyone. Len Karu. His son is a bastard, and he knows it. Mike's father. That's his name in the fucking movie. He was born in St. Boniface, Manitoba on September 30th, 1939, and he was in Secret Window in 1408. Didn't really deep dive on this guy. Don't think I needed to.
I like The Secret Window.
Yeah, Secret Window is good. Played the sheriff, I think, in that movie. Next, we got Jasmine Jessica Anthony with the wonderful quote, "Daddy, everyone dies." Best quote from a child ever. And she played Katie Inslin. Born October 28th, 1996, just to make everyone feel fucking old, in Tarzana, Los Angeles. She did great, I think, as the dying little girl. And, she was definitely the catalyst for her father losing his goddamn mind in the room. She started 2 horror movies that I could find, 1408 and The Butterfly Room. Another person that probably wouldn't get much, I wouldn't usually talk about, but I thought he was great, was Isaiah Whitlock Jr. Hell no, I'm not coming in that room. Do you know what happened in here? Hotel engineer.
Oh, yeah, that guy was awesome.
He was born September 13th, 1954 in South Bend, Indiana. His brief appearance deserves mention because it's really funny.
He was really good.
He's best known for his role on the HBO series The Wire as a corrupt state senator. And this is funny, but his horror credits are all horror comedies, and it's Gremlins 2 and Corporate Animals. But that scene, I felt, after how intense the Samuel Jackson, John Cusack scene was in The Office.
Yeah.
And then the buildup that started happening in the room, his brief breath of fresh air, it was really good. Like, having him in there gave us a chance to breathe before shit hit the fan.
I loved how convincing Samuel L. Jackson was. It's hard to believe that Enslin wouldn't just take some advice that, in the way that he, stated, reasons why not to stay. I think I would just have to probably...
I don't know. Like, I can kind of see both sides of that one.
When Samuel L. Jackson gives you advice, you better damn take that advice.
Sure.
Yeah, but in this world, he wasn't Samuel L. Jackson. Like, I'm with you on this, JD. Like, if a Sammy L. Jackson tells me, Kane, do not go in that motherfucking room, that room is evil.
Sure.
At first, they're going to be like, man, that's bullshit. And when he's like, 56 people have died just in that room, I'll be like, okay, maybe something weird's happening in there, like gases or wires or something. Some weird shit's happening. I'm not going to test it. You know what? I don't believe in ghosts or supernatural, but Sammy L., I believe in you, and I'm not going to test it.
Sure.
Yeah, bad news.
So next, the only reason I mention this guy, Benny Urquidez, I'll bash your goddamn brains in, dude with a hammer. He was like the man with a hammer.
That guy was good.
Yeah.
I like that guy.
He was also born in Tarzana, Los Angeles. His other name is The Jet.
The Jet. All right.
Yeah, he's an American kickboxer and martial arts choreographer. He is noted to have pioneered full contact karate in 1974 in the U.S. He's been in a couple of Cusack films, namely 1408 and Grosse Point Blank. It's not horror, but he was also in Roadhouse as one of the fighters at the car dealership. He trained the Swayze in his own fighting techniques for the film.
Oh, wow.
And his horror creds are pretty much only 1408.
So that swing of the hammer was authentic. Like, that's how he would take you out with a hammer if he meant to.
Yeah, if he was trying to take John Cusack out with a hammer with his fighting style, that's what it would look like.
Yeah. You know what? It was strange because that, for a brief moment in that scene, I thought we were looking at like a small, like a portly person that was very, almost had like feminine characteristics. And for a brief moment, I believed that character to be a woman. And then later, one of you referenced that character as male, and I just didn't see it that way. I was like, wow, I'm like, that lady really meant him harm, and because there were 2 hammer attacks. It was more than, just that one episode, So anyway.
Well, I mean, the first one was trippy as fuck. Like, I thought that was really well done. Like, he sees the hammer guy.
Yeah, they just fly out of fucking nowhere and like a bat out of hell, and they're just flailing a hammer,
It was good shit. All right, so I will talk briefly about the score. Well, at least the person that composed the music for the score.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Gabriel Yared, born October 7th, 1949 in Beirut, Lebanon. When he was 7, his father sent him to an accordion teacher. And after 2 years, he started music theory and piano lessons. His only horror credit is 1408. I thought the score was fine. It does a good job of setting the mood.
Yeah.
But I can't say that any part of it really stood out to me.
No,
it's not something that really kept my attention.
Score.
Yeah. You know, when we look at like the score for Pet Sematary, that's currently my top. Like that's the top of my list of stuff we've reviewed.
They used it as part of the suspense building. That didn't really happen in 1408. I mean, very subtly they may have, but it was far more prevalent in Pet Sematary for sure.
Right. But I mean, even in like Richard Band scored movies like From Beyond, you know, like the way that, you know, in the beginning of the film, he has the music matching the pitch of the woman's screams.
Right.
That was just fucking amazing. And it set the stage for a lot of how that movie felt because of the music.
Yeah, Richard Band is continuously like interacting with the images, you know?
Yes, absolutely. This guy like, oh, you said it's a scary movie? Okay. And then like an hour and a half later, he comes out. He's like, okay, just find spots to put this in for your scary movie. I'm going to go do an Oscar nominated film.
I'm going to fuck with some violins for a few minutes and then like, I'll get back to you.
Right. But yeah, so JD, you've kind of hinted at it, and I want to know more what went down with the effects. Now, you've said that there was just like, it wasn't an effects person, it was a team of individuals.
Yeah, you guys, hopefully you have some nose plugs and some ear plugs and some goggles, because I'm about to fucking flood your shit with an entire ocean of special effects individuals. So get your water wings ready. But anyway, there were 34 people.
Holy shit.
That's just special effects. So there's other categories. There's like art direction and, you know, all kinds of stuff. But I'm going to break this down in a way that made sense to me. So I'm going to go ahead and just single out a few people that probably did the biggest things out of that list. Special effects, the first person I sort of picked out to talk about is Gordon Cave, who worked on Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and The Dark Knight. The next person I could talk about, a little bit bigger stature-wise in terms of just movie effects, having an impact over a larger group of films. That would be Paul Corbould. And he was born in 1961 in London and was the special effects supervisor for 1408. Also known for working on Doctor Strange, Guardians of the Galaxy, and is said to be involved in a remake of this hasn't come out yet. The date is yet to be announced, but it's a new Bride of Frankenstein film.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that Universal was putting some shit out.
Yeah,
like they're trying to reboot the Dark World or something like that.
Yeah, the Dark Universe. I thought that they kind of kiboshed that after.
Well, it's because they fucking shit the bed with the Mummy.
Yeah,
they had the perfect opportunity to have that Mummy because she was awesome, and then they fucking put Tom Cruise in it and just shit all over that movie. It's so bad.
So yeah, Corbould was also involved in the 2010 The Wolfman, starring Benicio del Toro. And if we rewind way back, Corbould did special effects for the vampire movie in 1983 called The Hunger,
which was awesome.
Yeah, that was a solid flick. And then he also did the special effects for the 1980 film The Elephant Man. I am John Merrick, the Elephant Man.
Well, I'm real glad that happened.
I don't think that
was my Elephant
Man. The Elephant Man did that.
In my brain that he did. Anyway, the next person I could mention is David Dunsterville. And he was born in England in 1966 and was best known for his work on The Omen. And I believe that was a remake in 2006.
Movie that didn't need a remake?
Yeah.
Didn't need a remake. As almost any movie remade doesn't need a fucking remake. That's a strong opinion of mine. Anyway, Dunsterville was also involved with Alien vs. Predator. So now, the next several people was also involved with Alien versus Predator, and these people did, a lot of like model making and mask work and certain makeup and special effects jobs and special effects techs as they're listed. So anyway, the next person was Simon Hewitt, known for Alien vs. Predator, but also was a model maker in Resident Evil.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there was Joe Halford, and he was a special effects tech on that 2010 Wolfman movie, and also worked on World War Z.
Meh. Which was a disappointment.
Yeah, it was just too much fucking CGI. It was ridiculous. Anyway, Halford also worked on Guardians of the Galaxy. So now I'm going to get into some of the makeup artists. So technically still, part of the special effects team, but more in the makeup art division. This particular artist, Carl Derrick, I watched a really cool YouTube video, did the horror monster makeup for the character Kevin O'Malley.
Okay. Well, that was fucking cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So he showed him applying, the way they used like a latex jaw and matted down his hair with like some sort of latex skull cap and trying to prep him because he was going to be in it for so long. I guess he had to wear that little getup for many, many hours. Anyway, Carl Derrick is best known for his work on The Brothers Grimm, Reign of Fire, and the Hills Have Eyes remake of 2006.
Also unnecessary.
They all seem to be unnecessary. Then there was Louisa Abel. She was credited as a makeup artist, best known for Interstellar in 2014 and Inception in 2010. She also did makeup on Wes Craven's Cursed and was the head of the makeup department for one of my favorite horror movies. Came out in 2009. Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell. Came out in 2009.
I do like that movie.
It had, some incredible makeup. And it was a movie that had CGI, but it had a lot of nice prosthetic horror too, which I always appreciate. Now, probably the most well-known makeup artist and special effects artist in the genre of horror and many other genres, Alan Apone, born in 1953. I didn't catch exactly where. He's an American makeup artist, and he's been a makeup artist on over 170 films and 150 TV shows.
Holy shit.
Yeah. One of the shows, for example, would be Westworld. He's the head makeup artist on the show Westworld. Also was involved in a ton of Marvel movies, pretty much all of the Marvel movies. He also did Black Snake Moan, a film that I loved. Another
It's a great film.
Samuel L. Jackson and Christina Ricci teamed up. That was pretty amazing. Apone's career goes way back. His first horror credit was he did makeup on Faces of Death 1, 2, and 3. And he also did Return of the Living Dead, Return to Horror High, and Chud 2, the sequel. Yeah, I didn't realize there was a Chud 2.
Yeah, I didn't know they made a Chud 2.
Well, apparently they did, and I am pretty interested in checking that out now. So that concludes my research for the makeup and the special effects. Now, I can make a few points to the set designs. They essentially built the set of 1408, the room in particular that John Cusack's character was staying in. That room at one point was reconstructed inside of like this giant vat, like almost like a swimming pool, to basically contain the giant flood that they created. And they used it for a few of the scenes. I think they used it for the scene where he was, kind of like sinking way underwater, and they did a few things with it, and then they eventually constructed the room in there and just started bombarding it with water. And so a lot of that stuff, there was, thousands of gallons of water,
Some risky fucking shit.
Yeah, a little bit. That actual kind of filming can be pretty dangerous. But there was a long, long list of stunt people on the job, and it's an intense film. Like I said, the giant...
Yeah, we don't devalue... Anyone that's listening, we don't devalue all of the people involved in the film. We just have a limited amount of time to discuss it.
Right, to unpack it in my segment, and it would be almost impossible, because really there's, probably over 100 people involved.
Yeah.
Easily.
Totally unnecessary. Nobody wants that.
Right. Okay, so how about we gonna head toward our impressions of the film?
Joe, why don't you talk about your personal experience with the movie?
Sure.
And then if there was anything that kind of popped out to you that you'd want to throw out into the ether.
Yeah, honestly, like my first exposure to 1408 was I bought the short story collection specifically because one of the stories in it tied into the Dark Tower series, and I was heavily into that series at the time. But 1408 specifically, like there was a lot of, and like the short story, obviously because it was a short story, was a lot tighter. It was a lot more streamlined than the movie. It got to the spooky shit a lot faster.
Right.
And it really struck me as creepy because there was a lot of just heavily, like I reread it just to kind of research for the movie. And like even now, like there's a lot of weird surrealist shit happening that at least in my like probably 18, 19-year-old brain, back when my imagination was a little stronger, really struck me as being creepy. You know, like the voices on the phone were just saying like nonsense, like counting, like this is 9-9, everyone you love is going to die, shit like that. And it was so weird and abstract that I found it really unsettling.
Right.
And some of that carried over into the movie, but it didn't feel as punchy.
No. I mean, that's hard to pull off.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you know, when you're reading a story, like your brain is doing a lot of the work. Whereas, you know, when it's a movie, like you've only got what you can see on the screen.
Right.
And yeah, I like the movie. I don't have a lot to say about it other than like, you know, it's a good horror movie.
Anything that stuck out with you that you'd like to throw out there for listeners to maybe comment on?
No, not really. You know, if you also have read that short story, did you find it as unsettling as I did? Like some of the just weird, abstract shit that was happening, or was that just the place that my head was at the time? You know?
Excellent. All right, JD, you want to talk about your personal experience with the movie?
Sure. This movie was a bit of a psych out for me. I just felt like I understand, you know, the way Stephen King does things in his writing, and I understand how they took that and made a film with it. But I think the idea that they came up with 3 different endings, to me, suggests that they didn't really know what the fuck to do with it either. So they're like, well, let's just do all 3, because for me, I felt more confused about how things wound up and unfolded. And really, like, I understand that, you know, okay, there's this person and he's going around to investigate, and, you know, he's secretly skeptical of what he's investigating, and he's in disbelief that such horror could exist, such an evil place could exist despite warnings, and yet still means to pursue it. And so I don't know, maybe there is some deeper meaning to all of it that is lying deeper below anything I'm able to...
I don't think there was. I think it's exactly what it said on the can.
But so then in that case, then I'm not sure why they went so deep into his psychology and his family life and the horrors in his reality, in addition to the horrors that he experiences once inside this room. I felt like, is there a message writing through this that I'm missing? And I kept feeling that throughout the film. I couldn't really like digest the things that I was seeing because I was spending so much time decoding. And I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, well, when are they going to like make this more than what it is? This mysterious link between his personal life and the horror in this room. And then the fact that they ended it 3 different ways suggests to me that they're really, like what you guys just said, there was no link, and it was just Stephen King writing about a horrible room.
I think I can clear that up. The rules of the room, as I understand it, the room can't kill you. The room can't drown you or any of that shit. The room feeds on your misery, and it culminates. It gets the most glee, the most joy. The room gets the most enjoyment out of you taking your own life.
Right. Or pushing you to the point that your body shuts down.
There's even a scene where he's getting ready to climb out on the windowsill, and he talks into the recorder, if I don't make it, know that it was an accident. The room didn't win. Now, I disagree. Even if he fell off,
He still put himself on the ledge
and died, the room still wins.
Yeah.
The room wins no matter what. I mean, once
Exactly.
you make your way, and he forcefully earned his right to die in that room. I'm not,
Because here's how I feel. Like when you enter the room, you bring everything that the room needs to end you. All of your memories, all of your fears, all like.
But how could that be
it
for
knows
every
those
single
things.
person it's supposedly that room ended 56 lives. So does that mean every person that stayed in that room was
I would
tormented,
argue
that had some sad tragedy that
Yes.
drove them to suicide? I mean, not everybody in the world has a tragedy that could drive them to suicide if manipulated
Right.
correctly.
I disagree. Like, everybody's got anxieties, everybody's got things in their lives that they're not happy about. A supernatural evil entity whose whole purpose is to push you to that point, I think in any human mind could find those buttons to push.
Yeah.
I agree.
It extended beyond, his internal turmoils, though, because then where did that attacker come from? There was...
Well, that's the thing is that the room, like that attacker, even though it swung the hammer at him, never made contact.
Sure.
Yeah. That was just the room fucking with him.
Yeah, we even learn that when the first hour is up and everything returns to normal, he never even got his hand smashed.
Right.
The room made him think that he got his hand smashed. So think of it like this. That was an hour, but for him, it felt way longer.
Sure.
It felt way longer than an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the room is. It slowly builds on the things that already exist in you, and then it slowly works on those, like finally grinding away at them until it breaks you.
And even one of the things the room did to fuck with him was, you can relive this hour over and over again, or you can just fucking die now.
Yep.
Like, that was an offer that the room made.
Lots of rules in 1408.
There really wasn't, though.
No.
That's the thing is I think the problem that you're running into is I think you're making it more complex than it needs to be, which I think is I think that's actually a sign of a good film, is that you're looking for signs and like codes and things like that would explain what's going on.
Right.
And ultimately, it's sometimes things are just awful.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the supernatural world that Stephen King creates, sometimes those awful things are evil entities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a certain kind of poetic nihilism to just, I don't know, sometimes shit's evil. Well, why, Stephen King? Because it fucking is, my dude.
Yep, because it fucking is.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good explanation. Why, Stephen King? Why did that room want to do that? Because it's evil.
And period.
That's it.
Yeah.
Because it's evil. There's no greater, like, the room's not going to detach itself from the Dolphin Hotel and go around attacking people in New York.
Right. It couldn't sprout legs and start smashing.
Yeah. It comfortably and patiently waits for someone to enter the room.
Room 1408.
Even if it's just for a minute.
Yep.
Like they do the turn down once a month. And a maid got locked in the bathroom for less than a minute. And in that time, because of what 1408 showed her, she gouged her own eyes out.
Because you can't still see the images in your mind.
I mean, you don't know that they're in your mind if you're just like seeing weird shit.
Yep. But yeah. So hopefully that clears that up at least a little bit, JD.
Yeah, I don't know. I still want to see room 11408 sprout legs and then fight the State Puff Marshmallow Man in the middle of Manhattan.
Dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Yeah. Or Godzilla. I would accept Godzilla. Or no, actually King Kong. King Kong would have been okay. Just a giant hotel room with legs fighting a gorilla. That would have done it for me.
You're a weird dude, man, and I love you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, my personal experience. Does anybody else have anything else?
No, I'm good. That pretty much. You guys helped me. You helped me. I wasn't sure.
Yeah, sometimes evil room is just a fucking evil room.
It was just
man.
confusing. It just trolled
If
him
you're still confused,
super hard.
we can cuddle about it.
We might have to.
Ooh. Yeah.
You know, I think I'll
Like
sleep
a
okay.
3-man cuddle? Is it a 3-man cuddle
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
working towards?
Well, we live in different cities, so I don't know if that's going to be a possibility, but
We can find our way to you, JD.
well, yeah.
I know where both of you live, so...
Love always finds a way.
Yeah, so my personal experience with the film. Yeah, I saw it when it came out in theaters. I thought it was a great movie. You know, this movie's a little newer than the stuff we normally cover.
Right.
Mhm.
So there's no nostalgia attached to it or anything like that.
Right.
It's just a great film. As far as what I'd like to throw out into the ether and to you guys. So when he first gets to the hotel,
Uh-huh.
there's this really weird out of character baby stroller and this woman in white, right?
Mhm.
And the when I say out of character, it's an antique stroller. Like
Mhm.
nobody fucking has that stroller just out
Right.
walking around with it. Okay. Not even rich weirdos. Okay.
Mhm.
And when he gets up to 14, like he goes and he does the interview with Samuel's character, and then
Mhm.
he's on the elevator, gets out, and he does the little roundabout where he gets confused. And then as he's making his way to 1408 in the room 1410, just next to 1408,
Mhm.
a woman is dragging this antique carriage into the room by herself, just her and
Yeah.
the baby.
Mhm.
And she says, "Oh, it's okay. We're home now." Right?
Yeah.
I don't think 1408, like the evil within, was just isolated to that room. I think
It's the whole floor. It's the 13th floor, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
that whole floor, but the center of the evil was in 1408.
Sure.
But I think the whole floor was fucked up. And I think the hotel itself had a little bit of that evil in it.
Sure.
And the reason is the bellboy, like the doesn't understand personal space bellboy,
Oh, yeah. He
Mhm.
did not.
he was really weird and awkward.
Yeah.
And when it cuts away from him to Gerald, there's
Mhm.
no sign of him.
Right.
You don't see him walking away. You don't see him talking to other guests. He just talked to Mike Inslin.
Mhm.
So I think he was an entity of the room. And I think the woman with the baby was an entity of the room.
Sure.
And if other people think of that, let me know what you think.
I do have a couple of answers or potential theories that might feed into that.
Do it. Do it to it.
My first, is just this movie really wanted to be The Shining. Like, it really wanted to be The Shining so fucking bad. So they were kind of doing things that didn't necessarily feed into the lore that the film was building just because they wanted to have weird shit happen.
Okay.
But my more kind of in-universe explanation is maybe because Mike Enslin went in, because you have to check yourself into 1408 for it to fuck with you. Like, that's the
Right.
rule that it establishes. So when he went in with the intent of going into 1408, he had already set himself up to be fucked with by the hotel.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it seems like it's because even Samuel L. Jackson says we operate at 90% capacity all year round. So the hotel can't be just constantly evil. It has to just be 1408.
Right. Okay. That makes more sense. I actually like
Yeah.
that idea.
And that's actually a trope in other horror films where, like, you have to invite the evil in. It
Sure.
can't just come and get you. Like, you have to welcome. And in that case, you had to, pursue entry into that room.
Yeah.
Which is why one of my favorite characters, the hotel engineer, that's why he was like, fuck no, I'm not going in that room. You know what happened here? No way. And so it didn't have a hold on him.
Wasn't
Yeah.
there a moment too, like, remember when he was like tunneling through the vents like Bruce Willis in Die Hard? Didn't he like look down on that woman in room 1410? And didn't it end up being his wife and his daughter as they were when his daughter was like newborn?
A baby?
Yeah.
Yes and no.
Okay.
He never left 1408.
So he was just imagining that tunnel ride.
Once the song started and the clock started ticking down, he no longer left the room.
Okay.
He had
Yeah, it even
no
says-
way to get out.
Yeah, I think it says it in the movie. I know it says it in the book. Even if you leave this room, you can't leave this room.
Right. So that's why the engineer was like, nah, I'm not doing it. And
Yeah,
I think
just
the
no.
only reason that John Cusack was allowed to leave to like watch the guy go down the hall is because the room knew he was coming back.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah.
If he was planning on going out of the door and not going back in, the door wouldn't have let him out. Like, it would have stopped him from going. But yeah, I mean, that's it for me.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything?
That pretty well covers it.
No, I'm good.
All right, cool. Great movie. If you watch 1408, let us know what you think. You can find us at wegiveYouBrainworms.com and as well as almost all the places podcasts live.
Indeed.
Feel free to send us a message or comment. Also, we warn you against forgetting to like, follow, and subscribe on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. That
And don't forget to click the bell.
would be
Yes,
an essential
click the bell.
action to take. And that made our ding-dongs go bing-bong.